Sobrang di ko pa mapaniwala. Maraming salamat sa suporta at sana patuloy yung suporta niyo sa
Tears, secrets, and the gift that stopped Manila. The untold story that will change Philippine tennis forever. Welcome back to Champions Tennisitics, your number one destination for the stories that shake the very foundation of tennis. If you thought you knew what emotion looked like on a tennis court, if you thought you understood the meaning of sportsmanship in the modern era, I need you to stop scrolling right now. Because what transpired in the shadows of the Rizal Memorial Tennis Center just hours before the biggest match of Alex Eala's career is not just breaking news. It is a watershed moment that will ripple through the history of this sport for generations to come. We are broadcasting live from the heart of Manila, where the tropical heat is matched only by the burning anticipation of an entire nation. The crowds are roaring, the flashbulbs are exploding, and the Philippine flag is waving with a pride that can be felt from Luzon to Mindanao. But behind the spectacle, beyond the television cameras and the social media frenzy, something quiet and devastatingly beautiful happened in a locker room. A secret gesture, an unexpected package, and a handwritten message that froze the Philippines' golden girl in her tracks, reducing her to tears just moments before she was scheduled to step onto the biggest stage of her young life. Today we are not merely discussing drop shots and topspin. We are diving headfirst into the raw humanity that exists beneath the professional veneer of elite sports. We are unpacking what it means when an opponent becomes an ally, when competition transforms into communion, and when a simple act of kindness threatens to overshadow the match itself. This is the story of the gift of life. But hold on tight, because that is just the beginning. We are going deep, deeper than we have ever gone before. We are exposing the audacious master plan to transform the Philippines into the next global tennis superpower. We are revealing the billion-peso investments being funneled into courts, coaching, and championships. We are examining how one 20-year-old woman has become the catalyst for an entire sporting revolution. And before we close, we are taking a somber detour to Melbourne, where the tennis world bid a tearful farewell to one of the greatest warriors the game has ever known. This is the most comprehensive, most emotionally charged episode Champions Tennisitics has ever produced. You are about to witness history being written in real time. The scene is set in Manila, a city that has waited decades for this moment. The air is not just humid. It is saturated with expectation, thick with the dreams of millions who have watched their homegrown hero battle alone on foreign soil for years. This is the Philippine Women's Open, the first time the nation has hosted a WTA 125 event, and the preparations have been nothing short of spectacular. The Rizal Memorial Sports Complex has undergone a complete metamorphosis. Fresh paint gleams under the tropical sun. New seating sections have been installed. The courts have been resurfaced to professional standards. Every detail has been scrutinized, polished, and perfected. And at the absolute center of this whirlwind stands one young woman whose shoulders are bearing the weight of an entire archipelago, Alex Eala. At just 20 years old, Eala has already lived a lifetime in professional tennis. She is the face plastered across billboards from Makati to Quezon City. She is the name whispered in hope by every young Filipino girl who has ever picked up a racket. She is the standard bearer, the trailblazer, the one who made it out of Southeast Asia and into the big leagues. But with that glory comes crushing, suffocating pressure. The kind of pressure that can turn a tennis court into a prison. Eala arrived in Manila carrying heavy baggage from Melbourne. The Australian Open had been brutal. A first-round exit in singles to a player she should have beaten. Another first-round exit in doubles alongside her partner. The whispers started immediately. Sports talk shows debated whether she was ready for the spotlight. Online forums questioned her mental toughness. Critics who had never held a racket in their lives typed furiously about her perceived weaknesses. The noise was deafening. But here she was, back home, seated number 2 behind the experienced Tatiana Maria, preparing to face a minefield of a draw. And her opening opponent? Alina Kareva, a dangerous Russian player with a game built for disruption and a recent head-to-head victory over Eala in her back pocket. This was not the gentle homecoming that fairy tales are made of. This was scheduled to be a war of attrition, a brutal examination under the harshest possible lights. Yet just hours before the first ball was struck, the narrative shifted in a way that nobody, not the coaches, not the commentators, not even the players themselves, could have predicted. According to multiple sources embedded within the tournament's organizational structure, sources who spoke to us on condition of anonymity due to the sensitive nature of the revelation, Alina Kariva did something that simply does not happen in the cutthroat ecosystem of professional tennis. In a world where psychological warfare is standard procedure, where players avoid eye contact in the locker room, where every interaction is calculated for competitive advantage, Kariva made a choice that defied every unwritten rule of the tour. She did not seek out the media. She did not stage a photo opportunity. She did not tweet about it or post it on Instagram for the likes and the engagement metrics. Instead, in complete silence and total privacy, she approached a senior tournament official with a carefully wrapped package and a handwritten note. The official, recognizing the gravity of the gesture, agreed to deliver it personally. The message, which we can now exclusively reveal to you, read in simple but profound English. No matter who wins today, please see this as a gift of life for giving me the chance to face the Philippines' #1 player on her home soil. It is an honor I will never forget. When that tournament official entered Alex Eala's locker room, the atmosphere was electric with pre-match tension. Eala was locked in, headphones on, eyes closed, visualizing points and patterns, trying desperately to tune out the thunderous chants of her name echoing from the stadium outside. Her team, coaches, physiotherapists, family members, moved around her with practiced efficiency, each person focused on their specific role in preparing her for battle. The official placed the package on the bench beside Eala's racket bag. For a moment, nobody noticed. Then Eala opened her eyes. She saw the box. She saw her name written in unfamiliar handwriting. Slowly, she removed her headphones. The bustling activity around her began to slow, then stop entirely, as everyone sensed that something unusual was happening. Eala reached for the package. She read the note first, and then, according to eyewitnesses in that room, time seemed to freeze. She stood perfectly still for what felt like an eternity, but was probably only 10 or 15 seconds. Her hand went to her mouth. Her eyes, which had been steely and focused just moments before, filled with tears. The emotion was not a slow build. It was a wave that crashed over her all at once. In that high-stakes, high-pressure cooker of a professional locker room, where vulnerability is seen as weakness and tears are supposed to be saved for victory or defeat, the humanity of the moment shattered every defense mechanism the young athlete had constructed. Sources present in that room report that Eala whispered only a handful of words, her voice breaking with emotion. "This is the most beautiful thing anyone has ever given me before a match. I do not even know what to say." What was actually inside that package? That remains a sacred secret between two competitors. Speculation has run wild. Some suggest it was a handwritten letter sharing Kariva's own journey and struggles. Others believe it was a symbolic token representing the struggles all women face on the professional tour. Still others think it might have been something deeply personal that only two athletes who have dedicated their lives to this brutal sport could truly understand. But the contents, ultimately, are less important than the meaning. The gift of life is not about the physical object. It is about acknowledgement. It is about one warrior recognizing another warrior. It is about Kariva telling Eala, without cameras or audiences, that she sees the magnitude of this moment, that she understands the pressure, that she honors the journey, that despite the fact they will soon be locked in combat, trying to destroy each other's championship dreams, they are united by something bigger than any single match. This gesture fundamentally transforms the upcoming encounter. When these two women step onto that court under the lights with thousands of screaming fans creating an atmosphere that will be felt in every corner of Manila, it will not simply be competitor, but trying to defeat competitor B. It will be two human beings who have shared a profound, silent understanding competing at the absolute highest level while carrying a mutual respect that transcends the scoreboard. Make no mistake, they will both fight with everything they have. The intensity will be real. The desire to win will be overwhelming. But the bitterness, the psychological gamesmanship, the cold-blooded detachment that often characterizes modern professional tennis, that has been replaced by something far more powerful and far more rare: genuine, deep-rooted respect between opponents. This is the kind of moment that decades from now, when both players have long retired, they will look back on as defining not just their careers, but their characters. This is why we watch sports. This is why tennis matters. Now let us zoom out and examine why this gesture landed with such devastating emotional impact. To understand that, you must first understand the impossible position Alexandra Eala finds herself in. She is not just a tennis player in the Philippines. She is a cultural phenomenon, a national treasure, a symbol of what is possible when talent meets opportunity and refusal to quit. Eala has spent the majority of her developmental years thousands of miles away from home, training at the legendary Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca, Spain. While her friends were experiencing normal teenage lives in Manila, she was grinding through brutal practice sessions in the Mediterranean heat. While her family celebrated birthdays and holidays together, she was competing in obscure ITF tournaments across Europe, sleeping in budget hotels, and eating whatever she could afford. She fought through the qualification rounds of Grand Slams, often as the only Filipino player in the entire draw, carrying her nation's flag into arenas where she was completely anonymous. Every victory was a lonely celebration. Every defeat was absorbed in isolation. The sacrifices required to reach this level are incomprehensible to anyone who has not lived it. And now, for the first time in her professional career, she is competing at a WTA-sanctioned event on Philippine soil. The magnitude of that reality cannot be overstated. In her pre-tournament press conference, Eala attempted to manage expectations with the careful diplomacy of a politician. She sat at a table covered with microphones, cameras pointed at her from every angle, and delivered what sounded like a reasonable, measured response. "I never go into any tournament expecting to win the whole thing. My mindset in that sense is no different just because this is at home. I take it match by match. I will do everything I can to win my first one, but if not, it is what it is. You cannot win all the time." Those are the words of a well-coached, media-savvy professional who understands the dangers of overpromising. But let us be absolutely clear about the reality beneath that carefully constructed statement. She knows exactly what is at stake. She knows that tickets sold out in record time because of her name. She knows that television ratings for this tournament will be the highest for any tennis event in Philippine history. She knows that somewhere in that crowd will be hundreds of young girls holding handmade signs with her name painted in bright colors, dreaming that they could one day be her. The weight of that knowledge is crushing. The tournament draw has been merciless. Beyond the immediate threat of Alina Kariva in the opening round, the bracket is loaded with danger at every turn. Donna Vekic, a former top 20 player with Grand Slam quarterfinal experience, lurks in one section. Lulu Sun, the rising New Zealand star who shocked Wimbledon last year, occupies another dangerous position. And looming at the top as the #1 seed is Tatiana Maria, a Wimbledon semifinalist whose tricky lefty game and devastating slice backhand have frustrated players far more experienced than Eala. The road to the championship trophy is not paved, it is mined. And hovering over all of this is the ghost of Melbourne. That first-round exit in the Australian Open singles draw stung. The doubles loss compounded the disappointment. Eala flew from Australia to the Philippines carrying that failure like a stone in her stomach. Lesser athletes would have crumbled. Lesser competitors would have manufactured an injury to avoid the spotlight. But Alexandra Eala chose to show up. She dusted herself off, boarded the plane, and walked directly into the firestorm of expectation. That resilience, that refusal to hide, is precisely why Kariva's gift resonated so profoundly. In a moment when Eala might have felt isolated by pressure, Kariva reminded her that she is seen, valued, and respected not despite her struggles, but because of them. That is the power of genuine sportsmanship. It heals wounds that victory alone cannot reach. While the drama of the gift of life unfolds in the locker rooms and on the courts of Manila, an even larger story is developing in the government offices and conference rooms where the future of Philippine tennis is being architected. This tournament, as spectacular as it is, represents only the opening salvo of an ambitious, audacious plan to transform the Philippines into a legitimate tennis powerhouse. And the man leading this revolution is Philippine Sports Commission Chairman Pato Gregorio, a visionary administrator who sees not just what Philippine tennis is, but what it could become. Gregorio is not content with a successful WTA 125 event. He is not interested in a one-time celebration that fades from memory after the final ball is struck. He wants sustained growth. He wants infrastructure. He wants an ecosystem that produces not just one Alex Eala, but a generation of them. And he is willing to put government resources, political capital, and his personal reputation on the line to make it happen. Speaking to media representatives on the eve of the tournament, Gregorio was blunt, confident, and unapologetic in his ambitions. He looked directly at the cameras and issued what amounted to a challenge to the Women's Tennis Association. Give us a 250 event if we pass this test. I am absolutely sure that with Alex still developing, and with her trajectory, she will soon be top 20 in the world. When that happens, they will have no choice but to give us a 250. Let that statement sink in for a moment. A WTA 250 tournament is a significant upgrade from a 125 event. More ranking points, substantially higher prize money, and crucially, the ability to attract top 20 players who would otherwise skip lower-tier events. It is the difference between being a regional attraction and being a legitimate stop on the global professional tour. Gregorio is not asking for this upgrade as a favor. He is demanding it as a right that will be earned through successful execution and demonstrated market demand. But Gregorio's vision extends far beyond Manila. He dropped a genuine bombshell when discussing expansion plans. Together we can develop and introduce a WTA 125 event in another city in the Philippines, maybe Cebu. I have studied how other nations have built successful tennis cultures, and the blueprint is clear. Imagine that reality for a moment. A WTA Tour event in Cebu, the Queen City of the South, with its pristine beaches and passionate sports fans. Players competing in paradise. Fans across the Visayas and Mindanao able to watch world-class tennis without traveling to Manila. The economic impact would be enormous. The cultural impact would be transformative. As he waved goodbye to the Australian fans, tears streaming down his face, we were reminded of the beautiful and brutal cycle of professional sports. Alex Eala in Manila is receiving a gift of life and beginning her journey as a home hero with the hopes of millions riding on her shoulders. Stan Wawrinka in Melbourne is closing the book on his Australian Open story, waving goodbye to the fans who watched him grow from Roger Federer's shadow into his own blinding light. One story begins, another ends. The torch is not passed directly from one hand to another, but the flame continues to burn. So what does all of this mean for us, the fans who dedicate our time, our passion, and our emotional energy to following this beautiful sport? It means we are living through a golden moment, a convergence of endings and beginnings that will define tennis for the next decade. If you are a fan of Philippine tennis, you are witnessing the seeds of greatness being planted in real time. The infrastructure is being built. The investments are being made. The vision is being articulated by leaders who understand that sustainable success requires more than just one transcendent talent. The drama between Kariva and Eala proves that this is not just a sport. It is a theater of human emotion, connection, and shared struggle. That gift exchanged in the privacy of a locker room, that moment of tears and recognition, that is the soul of tennis laid bare. If you are a fan of the global game, you are watching the geographic landscape of professional tennis shift before your eyes.